So let's start with the approval and payment changes. So um, what we've done is to change the way the final approval works. So for those that are on an even older version of Ascriptica, we've really changed the way the approval process work, really enhanced it a lot. So you have a three tiered or three layered approval process. You can have it starting from the work location, then roll up to the district, then up to the final approval. And in version 1.0 of this, once you have the permission as a final approver, for example, um, uh, you would you would essentially get an email as long as you are a final approver. In this last update in 8.5, what we've done is to allow you to specify that when the the person at the district level approves the participant getting in the course, um, the final approval will go to the requester and not everyone that is set as the final approver. So there is now a way to further fine tune who actually gets that email. The other change that we've made here is that if um, uh, we've set it up so that you can determine if payment should be collected before or after the approval is provided. So what it will do is reverse the registration process so that if you say, hey, I want to collect payment before the approval happens, then you can collect payment if most of the time your approvals go through. If you'd rather wait, go through the approval process, then send an email after the fact to get um, uh, to get that final approval, then it will also change that process as well. Okay. The other change we have made here, and this will not be death by PowerPoint. We'll switch over into the application so you can see where these settings are and how you control it. The other change is sometimes a PO number is used instead of a credit card. And when that happens, you can choose to determine if, even if they provide a PO number, you can say, hey, I still want that PO number to be required, which means that they must put a PO number in, or they could leave it blank. And then when that registration comes in, you can basically fill in the PO number on the fly on your own or manually behind the scenes. Once you have worked with the district and you've worked out payment, because I know for some folks that's a pretty intense process to get that going. Okay. The other change that we've added is getting a notification when a credit card is used. Before that was sort of behind the scenes, but now you can actually change the email address you want to in order to get notified that a credit card was used. So we've also been updating the approval email as well for just better visibility. So you have work location and a bunch of other stuff now inside the approval email. So that should look a little bit better. And then there are a couple things in terms of resending approval requests, both at the work location level, at the district level, and even for acknowledgments that go to the participant, we're also allowing you to resend those emails as well. The last change in this area around approvals and payment is controlling whether or not payment remains pending. So if you use any besides a credit card, then you can set the then you can set the system to automatically keep that person payment status pending. And what that will do is allow you to turn on whether or not that person has actually paid. Okay. If you want to change settings, you go into settings area. And let's take a look at some of these new settings that we have added. Okay, and as we go through, so here you see where we are defaulting all the approvals, right? Whether it's work location, district, global, those are all the settings to go and toggle on in order to determine, hey, I do want to turn on approval. Then for every class, you have the ability to override those settings. Oops, and I went back to payments. Okay. If you want to control whether or not payment happens prior to approval, then you turn this flag on. If you want to get approval first, then you turn that setting off. The other thing that we talked about is controlling whether or not a purchase order number is required during processing. And here's that feature right here. And if in your case you do not require a purchase order number and you want to manually follow up on that, or you're not going to force them to plug that in, then you can turn that off as well in your case. So anyone that registers using a credit card will actually trigger an email to this number. Here we're saying mark paid automatically only when credit card is used. So what this means is that if you use a credit card, then you will, that's the only time that you're marked paid automatically. Otherwise, you will remain pending.